Lady Babylon Almond Hillman. Those are the words that you missed.
Really is the gift that keeps on giving when it comes to exposing these Bible scholars, how biased and in many ways illiterate they really are. So Hillman spends his time exposing the bad Pinocchio Jesus in the Bible, and this guy can only see the good Pinocchio Jesus. He can't see any of the nasty. And it's interesting when they get like this, because the language that Hillman uses is so salacious. These guys can't take it, it seems. I mean, it's pretty obvious. This guy writes an article on his blog on September 1st. This is Richard Carrier. And here's the title. You can see, so the Gospels did not describe pedophilia, and no one was getting high on vaginas. Now, I'm not suggesting that anyone was getting high on vaginas. Now, I don't know if pedophilia is in the Bible or not. So, because I'm doing a video to make fun of this guy, doesn't mean I believe what this guy is saying that Hillman is allegedly saying, which he's not actually. And you'll see what I mean in a couple seconds when you see how truly unscientific this guy's mind is. Now, I actually think that these Bible scholars need some, they need a psychotherapeutic intervention. I think their condition is different than the believers with Christian brain damage syndrome. But when you have a guy who claims to be an expert like this guy in ancient history and ancient science, and I mean, you shouldn't be so completely off the mark the way this guy is. It's really stunning to me. So you can see here, no one was getting high on vaginas. Well, Hillman never said that. And he also says, and I'll show you once we get there in this video, that you should never, ever listen to or reference Hillman based upon this guy. But you should believe this guy. So it's quite stunning that guy takes this position, because when you put in Cup of Bess, Tampa, Florida, which is, and I learned about the Cup of Bess from a Hillman video. So if he says to me, I go, look, I don't care if it's, I just check and see. Like, that's the only way that's how a scientific mind will work. You can have a science mind on your own, no matter what. Figuring any problem logically and with reason basically reflects a scientific way of looking at things. And I'll show you what I mean more in a couple seconds. But look how easy it would have been for this guy Carey and all of his friends to stop all their stupidity, but they can't. They're just blinded to it because they cannot take, as far as I can tell, they cannot handle the nasty side, the drug side that's obviously in the Bible. So here we can see a Cup of Bess. We're going to look at the Smithsonian. This is Smithsonian over here. Smithsonian. So this is the time of Jesus and the time of Cleopatra, where Jesus was Christ in people's eyes from spittle on the ground, Christing people's eyes with drugs like a collodion in Revelation 3:18, and at that same time period, Cleopatra killed herself with a pharmacon Christon. Yeah, so none of these Bible scholars talk about Cleopatra killing herself with a Christ, do they? And that's actually in the literature, and it's very clear. Why don't these guys know? Because they're not real scholars. And I'm not saying that I am. They're just, you see, for me saying they're not real scholars,
I have the heater on.
does that mean that I'm saying that I am one? I'm saying that just that they're not. Let's just say this. Let's just say, for example, here, as I deliver my criticisms here. Okay, so you got to be up here to be a scholar. Okay, down here you're a non-scholar. Right here you're a non. Here you're a non-scholar or whatever. Here you're an anti-scholar. I just don't do this. I don't go anti-scholar. You mean I'm a scholar? These guys are not scholars. They're anti-scholars. This is anti-scholarship that these myth vision Bible anti-scholars manifest. And this guy references myth vision in his ridiculous blog about getting high on vaginas. You didn't get high on vaginas, man. You got high on hallucinogens.
Derek makes me mad too.
And there would also be blood and body in these drinks. There's blood and body in the Cup of Bess. Proteins from blood, vaginal mucus, and possibly breast milk were there. The inclusion of human fluids, as in drink drink my blood, eat my body, Jesus, in the Gospels. So the inclusion of human fluids such as blood and mucus was an unexpected and highly symbolic event, reflecting what? The nature of the pharmakon, the ancient Greek pharmakon. So here's Asclepius, god of medicine. They got people to heal via their dreams where they got triggered by drugs. What happened? They would take the drug, God would cure them during their dreams. So Hillman told us that ancient Greek pharmakon medicine was both religious, sexual, medicinal, all kinds of stuff. Very, very wide and diverse as you might be with the Greeks. So you can see how clearly off the mark, how hamartia this guy is. I just wonder if this guy's an actual hamartolos. That's what I'm curious about. So we go into the pharmakon.
Yeah, good use.
We go into the pharmakon. In the pharmakon, there are Christings for sex, medicine, and suicide.
Don't be a hamartolos.
The religious and medical Christings are in the Bible. John 9 Christing and the Revelation 3:18 Christing, where Jesus is selling kulurion in Christe tous ophthalmus anablepes. So, sex Christing is in Euripides, Hippolytus, and you can see what we're going to do. Here's the Christon, here's the Poton, and there you can see it. Is this drug a Christ or a potable? Christon, Poton. Immediate translation for both of those words, potable, which means drinkable, right? So potable, and then drinkable as English or wherever developed. And then this is just a Christ. This is Christ, period. Christ is a drug. And these guys can't handle that. They simply cannot take it. Wherever you see it, and I'll show you in the Bible itself, is always described in the context of a surface application of a Christ, which is a drug. So in Euripides, Phaedra wanted to know if her sex drug was a Christ or a potable. In Theocritus, we're told about Christing eyes. In Strabo, in geography, right here, the word epikristo is used, epikriston. And that is, Strabo describes Cleopatra's suicide with a pharmakon Christon. How's that? You can see pharmakon also enchanted potions, poisons, and death inducers, right? The what do they call them? The Seamen. So the death inducers. So everything that Hillman has said about drugs is accurate. Now I can't say if his applications in terms of outside of this are correct. I don't know. I'm only going by what I can read, and that's how the scientific mind works.
Coming from the medical text.
That's what you should do if you want to use a scientific mind on your own without being trained in science.
It's
just about evidence, logic, and reason. So here we see what Jesus said in Matthew 26. He took up a cup.
He never set out to disprove
not
anything.
a metaphorical cup,
They're
a
the
physical
ones who try
cup,
to bury his work.
and then told his disciples to drink it. Well, what was he telling them to drink? Drink of my blood, eat of my body. So the notion that this stuff wasn't going on back in Jesus' time is ridiculous, because it absolutely was. We have scientific evidence, right? What's the scientific evidence? The analysis of the cup. What's the historical evidence? Well, the archaeological evidence that this thing was around the time of Jesus and Cleopatra. So we know that what Hillman is saying, in the context that I'm describing here in this video, is all I can confirm. I can't confirm other things. So you can see, though, this guy misses the boat completely. And it's really an embarrassment for me. He should be severely embarrassed. He just cannot handle anything other than the rose-colored glasses Jesus story. That's all he can handle. Now, why is that the case for this guy and some of these other guys? Well, here's kind of, I think, the way they view it. Jesus was a fake good guy God, because this guy does not believe that Jesus ever lived, but he believes he was a good guy. So Jesus was a fake good guy God. Jesus was not a fake bad guy.
I used to think Jesus did not exist.
All Hillman is saying is that Jesus was also a bad guy God. And that's what these guys just cannot take. they lose their mind, and they got to come in and try to shove around all their degrees. And I'll show you how really unimpressive their degrees are in a second. So this is what he says on his website. He's a noted defender of science. He has expertise in ancient philosophy, Greek, no less, Rome, ancient philosophy, science, and technology. What else does he say about himself? He says, I am an expert confirming that Hillman is full of shit. Don't listen to him. Trust Dan. Trust Kip. I don't know who this guy is. And trust me. I've studied Greek since my Berkeley bachelor's degree. I'm an expert. I'm an expert. I'm great. I'm great. This guy's got delusions of grandeur, man. It's unbelievable. This poor guy. Poor dude. So, and here he is displaying his obvious Dunning-Kruger mind, unfortunately. So, here is what he's saying Jesus says. So Jesus had to be with this 9 to 12-year-old boy to get the Galene from, the Seamen. Hello, I'm Seamen. Spelled differently. Galene from the young boy to balance his symptoms. Now, why did Jesus have symptoms in the park? Because he imbibed hallucinogens. Look at that. Pagans usually snorted from vaginas. Look at him. What a Dunning-Kruger this guy is. Really? Really? The cup of Bess, you clown. The cup of Bess shows residues of vaginal secretions, mucus, blood, as well as hallucinogens, and then the liquidy fruity stuff. You clown. You friggin' clown. See, this guy is a clown. Anyone who'd use this language and calls himself a scholar or an expert is frankly full of shit. So Carrier really needs to check out that dude in the mirror. He really does. So when I say we're going to look at this from the perspective of science, let me show you what I mean. Because most of my videos don't get much play, but if this one does get play, someone's going to go, who the fuck is this guy? Who the fuck does this guy think he is? Okay, so here's my science background. Part of it. First of all, here's what science means, right? Observations, evidence, logic, and reason. Okay, very clear. So we put aside personal bias. This guy's got massive bias. Put aside personal bias. So here are 2 papers that I wrote. Okay, so not this one. This was written by Edgar Ross, who's the director of pain management at Harvard's teaching hospital. So he's a medical doctor who's using a classification system to describe how pharmacological management of pain would operate. And who's he citing? He cited himself once. He's at Harvard. At Harvard, you got every scientific article ever written since humankind began collecting articles. For the classification system, he cited 2 people. Me, I'm one of them. Because I'm into classification and trying to understand what language means and then build upon that in terms of functionality.
That's why I like
so that's what
Seamen
I've spent last week. You can see
all over.
at least since the easily mid-90s I've been doing this. Just 30 years I've been doing this. 30 years? 30 years, yeah. So 30 years of working on classifying language from a scientific perspective so I can understand it from a basic science perspective and a clinical application perspective, as in the application of nutrition. I'll show you in a couple seconds. I forgot this was coming in here. But, despite what I just said, anyone like Bogduck, who knows way more than I do, but both of us know that we don't know anything. These guys here, they don't understand that concept. They've never been properly Socrated. They got to watch Bill and Ted's Great Adventure. So here's the other paper I was talking about the inflammation stuff, the diet stuff that I was looking at, the application. So you got 3 guys who did this paper. One's from the CDC, 2 are at Harvard, one's at the med school, and the other one's at the School of Public Health. So in 2005, January, this came out. January 2005. First big paper ever published by any major university on the idea of diet and inflammation. Research has shown that nutrition can affect inflammation. This is my paper here. So back when Harvard was looking at this, I already figured this out before these Harvard scientists picked up on it. Why? Because classification stuff just sort of attracts my brain for whatever reason. Now, it took me from 1987 to 2002 to collect the information and learn the language to really write the paper properly so it could get referenced like this. And this paper's been referenced, I don't know, probably 25, 30 different countries by PhDs around the world. Yeah.
Nice,
So
brother.
if you take the title of this article, because I just wanted to see,
Awesome, dude.
not the title of the article, but if you take
Radical.
this language, who introduced the
amazing.
term diet-induced inflammation to the scientific literature? I was just curious. I didn't even know I was going to include this in this little presentation here. But we're told the first definitive person, hard to pinpoint, as the concept evolved over time through many scientists. So they cite two scientists here. They cite James Hebert and J.R. Lucas. But J.R. Lucas didn't write this paper. I wrote this paper. So you can see the anyway, you get my point that I look at stuff scientifically. Okay. So this guy is referencing clowns over at Myth Vision. I mean, what a joke. I mean, truly, this guy's all these guys, it's embarrassing. I mean, these guys need to take their own advice. Really, it's just, no one should listen to them. So here are videos I did correcting Myth Vision's inability to understand basic language.
Nice,
Absolutely
Fuck
stunning.
you, Derek.
And I also did a video that said, here, guys, you should do it like this with Hillman. Because they have no debate engagement skills. I mean, they're just a bunch of like biased believers in the non-believing sense. I mean, I don't really know how to describe this, but it is. I think it requires some therapy, though. I think they do need therapy.
Yeah.
So here's the problem that we suffer from. Just what we're told in the Truman Show, right? The world that we're presented with. So the Myth Vision guys, they first believed in the magic dust story of Genesis 2, neglecting the fact that in Genesis 1, man and woman were already created and already populating the world, right? That's what it said, Genesis 1, 26, 28. Let us, God said, let us, not God himself, let us
That's right. Us.
make
right.
man in our image. And they were made man and woman in our image. And they were blessed. And they were told to take dominion of the earth and fill it, baby. Fill it with humans. That was Genesis 1. And Genesis 2, you get the perversion story where you got the slave action of God and Yahweh with the magic dust bullshit. So the Myth Vision guys given up on that, right? What do they believe now? Well, because they're weak-minded, they only believe the other option that they were given. You can only either believe in their world, you can believe in the Big Bang, so big slime, or big dust. That's their worldview. This guy too. Well, maybe not him, but who knows? Basically, these Bible scholar guys, well, he may be a little different. And these guys, they live in two worlds. Magic dust, magic slime. That's all they got. Magic dust, magic slime. They got nothing else. Now, if I say that, someone's going to say, well, what else is it? What do you think? Well, let's just first deal with the fact that this is absolute bullshit. How about that? Absolute fucking bullshit. Who thought up the Big Bang Theory, by the way? Friggin' Catholic priest. If you don't think that this is a Gomerite owned and controlled world, you got something. You're missing the point big time.
Oh my God! So
this
good.
is why
Yes.
they believe these things,
Yes,
because they're only
Preach.
given two choices,
Preach.
and because they lack thinking skills on their own. It got, who knows why they don't. It's just Ash conformity. You should watch my last video, Ash conformity, Milgram obedience in the context of religion and politics. And you'll see why these guys are like this. And when they get together, they think that they're like scholars, right? They talk about being scholars. So you have clowns get together who call themselves scholars. That's all this is. Really amazing. So here's an example of clownery, because like, what if it's not Big Bang or Big Slime? Big slime, big mud, big dust. What else
Big
is it?
worm?
I don't know for sure. How do I know? I'm trapped in a body right now. But we know one thing, NDEs are real. Even hellish NDEs are real. 10 to 20% have horrible near-death hellish experiences. They come back freaked out and they change. These guys say, all made up. And the reference that this guy gives us is some idiot pastor who is horrific when it comes to religion, but this guy thinks he's great when it comes to near-death experience. Now, why would these uneducated Bible believers or ex-Bible believers even say something this stupid and so Dunning-Kruger? is because that's what they are. They are Dunning-Kruger people. The Myth Vision Squad is a Dunning-Kruger fake scholar squad. It's actually pretty terrifying, when you watch this stuff with these guys. So here is Piers Morgan. We're going to watch how horribly, what a joke the Big Bang is. So here is Michael Shermer being told, it's probably bullshit, Mikey. Now, here's Piers Morgan being very even-keeled. He's saying, I get the whole, Bible creation story. I get that that's weird. But what was there before the Big Bang? So you see a guy like Piers is like, okay, so the Bible dust is probably bullshit, right? So the dust is bullshit. The slime is bullshit. What makes more sense? And near-death experiences help us to understand this. So this is what Piers says.
And that's
but
what
was there
the
before the Big
was doing.
Bang?
The priestesses
And then there's
would
always this
record your
awkward
fucking
silence
trip
in the conversation where
after
they
brought you
say,
back.
well, we don't know. And that's when he bows his head. Because the human brain can't, this is all Piers talking while this guy's suffering. I caught it right at 6:13. Because the human brain, Shermer, can't compute what was there before nothing. And the human brain can't even compute the concept of what nothing is. And he bows his head and says, yes, that's a problem. It was a complete admission that what he believes has zero scientific evidence. Zero scientific evidence that nothing could explode into everything. How did nothing explode into what they bring Jesus? They brought him what?
And I even have
they brought him the three
my
things.
theory.
They brought him, that's right,
The
gold,
gravitational Big
frankincense,
Bang.
and myrrh. How did nothing explode into gold?
It's bullshit.
How did nothing explode into frankincense and myrrh?
I already
It's
have it written
total
down.
bullshit. And to even begin to believe that and talk about it like a fact, here's how you know it's bullshit. And we can just ask, the bullshit kid. Hey, bullshit kid, what do you think about big slime and big dust, which really should have been big mud, right? Because human body is 70% water. So really it should be a big mud pie. So kid, tell us what you think. Just in a couple of words, what you think about the big slime story and the big mud story. Get ready, here he is, the bullshit kid.
Bullshit kid.
Christians, Jesus said what? Become again like a child, like a little child, where you're honest, right? The little child saw the emperor naked. This guy believes in the emperor of the Bible, and this guy believes in the emperor of Big Slime. And we know they're both total bullshit because these near-death experiences are impossible to deny. And there is no religion in the afterlife. That's very, very clear. Not a single, some do, like they see like a figure of light or whatever, and they think, oh, it's Jesus or God, but no one ever comes back. Even if they say that, no one comes back and says that you must worship Jesus the way this religion, the way this version of Christianity or that version of Christianity says. No Hindu comes back and says, hey, listen, man, you got to split your time between Kali and Shiva, because those are the dudes, or the dude and the dudette, and the ether that's going to judge your ass. There's none of that shit at all. We are in a type of stage set, you could say, where reincarnation is possible, as I made very clear in this video. This is Dr. Jim Tucker, carefully has verified hundreds of reincarnation cases, and this is one of the most famous ones that destroys the false Abrahamic religions, because this false self Jew died in 64. The true self remembers spending time in the ether, and then it's born, it reanimates, not born, because this thing, well, look, right, if this thing animated this, it wasn't born, right? It's however eternal, maybe, I don't know. And then consciousness, like energy, right? It cannot die. It can only be changed. You can't create it. You can't destroy it. It just carries on, and that's what it appears that we are. We're like the batteries with intelligentness. The problem is that when we're in the bodies, we're idiots because basically these skin suits dumb us down friggin' big time, right? So we believe magic dust, magic slime stories. So this kid remembers this shit. He remembers here. He remembers it. The true self remembers those 40 parts of those 40 years. Now here, there's also a time dilation effect that happens, so just time compressed. Everything seems like it's happening simultaneously. So
But only
he
if you're both
remembered,
standing still.
the true self remembered this guy's life when he was this guy, in this
Relativity.
guy, doing this guy, animating this guy. And Tucker uncovered
Because if you and
facts
I are in the
that
same spot and I'm
there was
traveling,
no
we see
other individual could have known
time,
the thing that
days
this kid knew,
apart.
like the age that it was when the false self died. The false self died at age 62, but in the record it was like 60 or 61. And this kid's like, no. The true self's like, no, mommy, no, I was 62. So he goes, all right, I'll go look. So they go look more carefully, and guess who was right? The true self was right, because it remembered these details. Now that should make you think, and that should make you also think very carefully about being a liar carrier. Be very careful, you liar. You are very unimpressive, you liar. You can't even get these basic words right, can you? It's embarrassing. So here's Carrier's position, basically. His position is that his Ash conformity views of a fake book are correct. You see, he knows the book is fake, but you have to have the correct view of the fake book. Otherwise, you're going to be called names because Hillman has a fake view of the fake book. That is how juvenile these Bible scholar guys are. It's unbelievable. Just cannot take the fact that there is a bad Pinocchio Jesus and a good Pinocchio Jesus, and they're both just in the storybook. Why should it matter anyway? So let's look at the Sindona. This is a big thing. The Sindona is the big thing for these guys, because the Sindona is this. It's the sheet, or I thought maybe a towel.
Linen.
Hillman says it's right around the hoo-ha, the phalos, which is why I think you should have said epiphalos, not epigumno. Anyway, what's epiphalos, epigumno, whatever, is called a Sindona.
It's a cloth.
So he's saying that Hillman's views are crank, and to some degree, to call it epigumno, meaning epiphalos, that's not correct. It's not crank. Just that's what the guy thinks based upon all the stuff that he knows. Big deal. He should prove it, though. He hasn't done it yet. And I actually urged him to do it.
He died of poisoning.
One of my previous videos. Okay, so let's look at Sindona. So, who's wearing the Sindona first? Okay, so here's a Sindona in this 1500 picture. You can see 1522. So, if you go to the Lexicon Hesychius and look up Neoniskos, so you can say Neoniskos spelled exactly the same way.
12.
This is the Lexicon of Hesychius.
Young boy.
And according to the Lexicon of Hesychius, the Neoniskos is 10 to 14. Now, I don't really care if it's 19, because no matter if it's 19 or 10, it's still weird that Jesus had this dude wearing nothing with him while in the park while he was being guarded by 3 dudes with swords. So who was the guy? This guy, Carrier just cannot take this. So Carrier says that the Sindon is a tunic, an actual piece of clothing. It's unbelievable. What bullshit.
It's not.
Who is this guy, the naked dude? Well, the Neoniskos. Whether he's 10 or 19 makes no difference. Who is he? He's attending Jesus in a servant capacity. And he's following Jesus how? In a tending fashion, in an obeying fashion, and in a regimented military-like fashion. This guy is Jesus' boy, right? Obeying, attending him. Now, Hillman says there he was assigned. I don't see that word anywhere, but clearly you can see he's attending him like he's Jesus. He's Jesus Neoniskos. That's who this guy is. So Carrier is all wigged out about what Sindon means, and they ignore the fact that there's this naked guy, no matter what the age is, who is following Jesus in a regimented fashion. And Hillman will call it cult-like, right? The cult. So I don't know if that's true or not, but clearly it's a regimented fashion that these guys never address because they're weak. They are weak, and they are afraid to deal with this because they're world crumblers. They're world fucking
7:30, 8 o'clock.
So yeah, not a crank at all. Not even close to being a crank. So let's look at the language that this guy uses. So here he is. So you can see Sindona. So, all right, Sindona. Here it is. Look what he says. Does not and cannot ever mean a bandage, much less on some small part of the body. It's a tunic or a burial shroud. Lots of words in Greek meant bandage, but not Sindona. So, is this guy right? How many of you have ever checked any of this stuff? Just ask yourself. So if you're listening to me, or if you listen to Carrier was his name, right? Carrier, or Hillman, three different things are being said, right? Well, who would you believe? Don't believe anybody. Check it for yourself. So you take the word Sindona, and you put it into the online Perseus Greek word study tool that Hillman told people to look at. And Bart Ehrman didn't disagree when he was on Danny Jones. So you take the word Sindona. Here it is, Sindon. Look at this, Sindon. This would be Greek, so Sindon, right? Sigma, iota, nu, delta, omega, nu. Sindon. What does Sindon mean? Lexicon that every Bible scholar uses. Sindon means bandage. Oh man, what do you think what do you think if this guy watches this, right? What do you think his brain would be doing right now? This guy said it could never be like a little towel around the body, like a napkin. Oh wait, look at this. Sindon. Napkin. Oh wait, look at this. Sindon. The ship said. So a Sindon is fine cloth. That's all it is. And then it must be further characterized. So if you look at fine cloth linen, here's Herodotus. So this is 450 BC. And I don't know who this is. I don't know where that is. But you can see Bucines. It's right here. You can see mummies. Used for mummies. And what is Bucines? Let's look. Oh, Bucines. Fine linen bandage for wounds. Hillman says the dude's got a wound around the hoo-ha. And he's got the bandage around the hoo-ha with the purple. No idea, although it does say purple. Although when you go into, I have it here, the Euripides here anywhere? I forget where it is. I saw you, there's a Euripides, here it is, right here. If you go into Euripides Bacchae 821, it's not around the hoo-ha. It's basically a garment like this. It's like a robe kind of thing. So this is not, even though it says Euripides Bacchae, there's no purple around the hoo-ha there. So Hillman owes us evidence here. He owes us evidence. He's been saying it forever. The problem is that these weak-minded fools don't know how to actually behave in a scientific fashion. So we know for sure then that Carrier is not an expert. And you can see he has fake beliefs about a book that he knows is fake, but defends like it is real. So he's no different than, the glazed over eye believers like Kenneth Copeland. Look what he says here. It could never, ever, cannot ever, does not, and cannot ever mean a bandage. Sindon, bandage, bucines, bandage for wounds. You can see why you should never, here, we'll just do his language. You should never, ever watch another video by people at Myth Vision or this guy or their friends at Hidden Valley because they're clearly full of shit, right? They can't get a single word like Sindon right. And by the way, that's not true. I still watch stuff that those guys do if it's historically interesting. Otherwise, you never want to listen to them in terms of interpretation of things. They're clearly illiterate. I mean, they are what they accuse others of being,
recording right
unfortunately. So what else is this guy illiterate in?
Okay.
Turns out, this is the video I did, Cleopatra killed herself with a poisonous pharmacon Christum. So you can watch that video if you wish, but here it is. What did she kill herself with? Well, she put an end to her life secretly. This is the English translation from Perseus. This is the Perseus here. Here's Cleopatra. Cleopatra quietly taking her life. Here's Zoe. Here's Zoe, right? Here's Zosim, which is life. Quietly taking her life. How does she do it? Ooh, the sting of the aspidos, the sting of the asp, the bite of the asp, or pharmaco epikristo, right? A poisonous Christing. That's how Cleopatra killed herself. How does this guy not know that? And I know it. I just started looking at this shit a year ago. He's been studying Greek since his college days, which would have ended in 1992, I suspect. So he's been looking at